Greetings everyone, today we'll talk about one of the most indestructible car in the world. This car is tougher than determination of LGBTQ plus community to be worshipped by every living thing on earth. This car is the father of Nokia brick phones and cousin of machine gun AK-47. Many believe that Chuck Norris, an aircraft carrier, created W124 in passionate love flick. Today we will discuss why is it so desirable and what you will get if you buy one for yourself now. W124 took 7 years to develop, and it was so good that during production they used same components in W126, W201 and even in W140. This car was so good that Mercedes continued making the W124 platform for 13 years. Production time was almost double that of previous model W123 and the model after W124, the W210. At the end of its life, it was produced in small numbers in South Africa and India. There is a rumor that last W124s were cabrios and they were specifically made for American market. Even with the 13-year life cycle, W124 did not break the sales record of W123. It lost by 100,000 units. Total number is 2.5 million units. Compared to W210 that sold almost a million less, W124 had very good numbers. W124 had one of the best aerodynamics at that time. Drag efficiency was only 0.30. To understand how good the aerodynamics were, let's compare them to the numbers of the sports car in that era. Corvette C4 had 0.34 and the Ferrari Testarossa had 0.36. And the interesting fact is that diesel version of W124 was even more smoother than petrol because of the better covers that were under the engines. Diesel version had 0.29. It is common belief that W124 was the first official E-Class. The letter E had one meaning, Inspiritunzung. Letter E had one meaning in German. That meant interspersing, and that translates injection of petrol. I have no idea did I say it correct or not. Sorry if I've mispronounced it in German. After the 1993, the letter E went to the front of the number and obtained the name of the class, E-Class. This wonderful shape was created by our favorite Italian man called Bruno Sacco, and it was shocking in the 1980s. Until today, this shape is stuck in everybody's head as a true Mercedes. If you show the picture of W124 to a toddler that is 3 years old, he will immediately say that this is a Mercedes. This is the impact that this car left in our heads. The design of this car, in my opinion, has the perfect proportions. If this car was a woman, it would be young Monica Bellucci. Every line and shape is so good that you do not want to take your eyes from it. In all my reviews, I talk about the proportions of the car design, and also I always point out the one concept of the vehicle, and W124 nailed those two very important design features. In 1985, Mercedes started to make first deliveries of W124. During 13-year production, car changed a lot. If you bought W124 in 1985, you had less features than cupboard box from refrigerator. Everything was an option, not even AC or electrical windows were a standard. But of course you got excellent handling and the ride comfort was perfect. But again, central locking was also an option. In 1980s, many Japanese sedans had traction control, parking sensors, TVs and even GPS for much less money than the base W124. Some say that W124 was the first car that had airbag as standard feature, but that happened only in 1992. Also, in that year, W124 was offered with standard features like central locking, electrical mirror adjustment, and stability control system. The golden rule of W124 was bigger engine you have, the more standard option you will get. W124 was the first E-Class that had all-wheel drive system called 4MATIC. It was offered from 1987 and available only with the 6-cylinder engines. 4MATIC system was so good that you never felt how it actually worked and interfered with the corners. It was very smooth and kept you out of trouble even on the high speeds. Car had more grip and gave more confidence to throw it at any corner at any speed the same way you drive a rental car, without any hesitation or any fear of dying. In 1988, W124 had some new petrol engines with fuel injections and cleaner, more reliable diesel engines. Also, from 1988, all models received ABS systems as a standard. W124 diesel engines are famous for its immortality and great fuel consumption. What cracks me up is that German taxi drivers were not very eager to get a new W124 with a diesel engine because they loved W123 and could not even imagine that Mercedes can make something better than W123. But after a few years it became one of the best taxi cars in the world, and many German taxi drivers even today dream of finding and buying low-mileage W124s. Another interesting fact about W124 is that diesel versions had 3 stripes in front of their fenders, and many diesel owners loved those 3 lines. Even with the diesel engine, with those stripes, W124 looked cooler than the petrol ones. W124 had more than 40 different petrol engines. We will talk about favorite engines and the engines I would recommend. In my personal opinion, W124 in decent condition is a great car with any petrol engine. But if you want to experience a true orgasm while driving W124, you must buy one of these 3 engines. The first one is M104, the 3.2-liter straight 6. This engine is reliable, smooth, and can pull the light 1W4 very nicely in the corners or in the straights. 0 to 60 will happen in 8 seconds. It generated 220 brake horsepower and 310 Nm of torque. Power delivery of this engine is perfect. If you buy this engine with good service history and do everything on time, it will last and more than 400,000 kilometers without any major breakdowns. Second desirable engine is the M119, not the 5-liter but the naturally aspirated 4.2-liter V8. It is the affordable W124 with the V8 engine that you can enjoy without selling your kids. It generated 276 brake horsepower and 400 Nm of torque. 0 to 100 km will happen in 7.2 seconds. In my opinion, this is one of the most perfect versions of W124 for you to buy today and actually daily drive with without being scared that some crack addict will scratch your car or crash into it. Because 500Es or E500s are so expensive that you will be scared driving it outside. And the last engine that I would recommend is the M119 5.0. Everybody knows that 5-liter V8 W124 is a dream of every overweight millennial that wants to find a way for escaping his depressed and miserable life by flooring 5-liter V8 in a light Mercedes E-Class. Because of its history and movie history and overall hype that E500 has today, the price for decent version will start from $40,000. So many E500 owners just assemble E500 themselves. The M119 is a very popular engine and you can find many of them in Japan, in UAE or in Europe. Those popular wheel arches are not difficult to make, and I know many people here in Uzbekistan that do the conversion of base W124 into E500 without any problems, and they love this car and they enjoy it. But in my opinion, no matter how much you invest in the conversion, it will never feel like a true E500 from a factory. But I guarantee you that you will have a lot of fun driving it. Also, many W124 lovers put not only the natural aspirated 5-liter V8 but 5.5-liter V8 with the compressor from W211, the M113K. And I think that it's just crazy to put so much power in such a light car. When you will figure out all the problems with this conversion, this Frankenstein will put a temporary smile on your face. Soon I will make a separate video about E500 and explain all the pros and cons of owning it. Those 3 engines, in my experience, are the best one for you to buy today. All transmissions that W124 had were reliable, if they were taken care of on time. Of course, compared by today's standards, the gear shifts were very slow in automatic versions. But if you drive it civilized, you will enjoy those effortless and smooth gear changes from your automatic gearbox in W124. W124 had 2 manual and 2 automatic transmission, 5-speed and 4-speed manual and 5-speed and 4-speed automatic. And basically they were indestructible. This is the only Mercedes where I do not care what transmission this car has. For instance, W140 in my opinion must be automatic because W140 with manual is a E-class, not an S-class. And that's very horrible putting manual transmission in W140. But W124 with manual is so good that you actually enjoy changing gears even when you are in a very heavy traffic. One of the best things about W124 is of course the ride. Front has independent suspension with 2 wishbones and back had independent suspension with 5 wishbones. Front shock absorbers and springs are separate from each other, so every bump was irrelevant to this vehicle. Doesn't matter how deep was the pothole, your butt never felt anything. In my opinion, it had one of the best suspension in history. Problems with W124 were only with 4MATIC and only because not many private mechanics can fix them, and owners just neglected the basic maintenance of it. But if all the differential liquids were changed on time, you will have no problems with 4MATIC system. Another inconvenience were the mirrors. On driver's side, they are longer. On the passengers, the mirror is a little bit short, and there were some cases when new owners of W124 had accidents during simple parking. Also, indicators and controls for wipers are in the same lever, and that's not very convenient and it will take time to get used to. There are many reasons why W124 is so respected in many different countries. It was one of the longest production Mercedes sedans and one of the most successful sedans in the world. I remember first time when I sat in W124. I was with beautiful girl, I was 19 years old, no belly fat, no financial obligations, no family, no kids, just me, nice cold autumn air and gorgeous 24-year-old girl that loved me very much. Back then I didn't have a car, so we were catching taxi on the street, and I remember that this wonderful, beautiful W124 E200 stopped near us. And owner of this car was not full-time taxi, he just did it part-time, and his attitude to his car was very impressive. When we got into it, the car felt taken care of and loved. I remember how it ate all the bumps and how smooth was the gear changes in this manual E200. We were sitting at the back and the legroom was enough for a basketball match. The only thing it needed was to change the springs in the back seats. We were drowning in those seats. The smell and general feel of the car was perfect. It was so good that I remember each meter of that ride and even conversation that I had many years ago with that taxi driver. I don't remember what my girlfriend said, but I remember everything that the taxi driver said to me. This was the first impact for me of W124. Since then I drove many different versions of that car and I have a review of W124 Coupe. And that was one of my best driving experience I ever had. If you want to watch that review, the link is below. The popularity of this car increases every day and it will never die because it had expensive materials everywhere. Metal is very thick compared to all the new cars that are for sale today. There is no cheap aluminum, only good quality materials. Millions and millions kilometers are driven every day in those cars, in W124s. All engines of W124 had one priority, and it was durability. That's it. Crankshafts were made in such a way that it would have less amount of friction so it can last longer. Also, the vibrations of all W124 engines were minimized to give driver absolute luxury feel. Once you drove W124, you will never forget about it. You want to own it, drive it again and put petrol in it and then drive it some more. And not many cars can stick in your head and in your heart and your soul like W124. Design of it was so perfect that it will be desirable even after 100 years. I hope one day with God's help I will have enough money to buy W140, W124 and all other German dream cars that I want and I love. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this video and please subscribe to my channel. Take care and bye bye.